A move with a taste of passion. This story happened during my first summer in America. I had just moved from Australia, leaving behind my familiar life, ocean beaches, and warm sunsets. Everything was new, unfamiliar streets, accents, and people. I took a job at a cleaning company just to make ends meet, and that's where my journey began. Little did I know that one of my first assignments would mark the beginning of one of the most unusual chapters in my life. I had recently started working for the cleaning company, and the job quickly became routine. Usually, I cleaned apartments and houses while the owners were away. That was probably the best part of my work. No one watching over me or distracting me, allowing me to focus on the task. But this particular assignment turned out to be nothing like the others. It was a mansion on the outskirts of the city, and even on my way there, I knew the house would impress me. The owner, as I had been told, was rarely home and had given clear instructions through his assistant: clean the house, vacuum the carpets, and wash the windows. When I entered, the interior confirmed my assumptions. It was all done with exquisite taste: huge windows, gleaming parquet floors, elegant furniture. I sighed, realizing there would be a lot of work, but it was a challenge I was ready to take on. With my music playing softly in my headphones, I started in the living room, where a luxurious white sofa stood beneath a modern abstract painting. The work was going smoothly until suddenly I heard the sound of a door opening. I turned abruptly. A man stood in the doorway, and his appearance quite literally took my breath away. Tall, with a slight stubble, he looked like he had just stepped off the set of a movie about the rich and powerful. His suit fit perfectly, and his movements carried the confidence of someone accustomed to being in control of both his life and those around him. "Sorry for the unexpected appearance," he said, stepping into the living room. His voice was low, velvety, and it seemed like every intonation was precisely measured to perfection. "I thought you wouldn't be home," I replied, lowering my gaze in embarrassment. "Plans changed. I hope my presence doesn't disturb you," he said, his tone more of a statement than a question. He walked further into the room, settling casually on the sofa and opening his laptop. Meanwhile, I continued my work, but I could feel his gaze on me. It wasn't just that he was watching, it felt like he was studying me. My movements suddenly became slower, each detail of my work feeling sharper. Even simple dusting turned into a strange dance where he seemed to set the rhythm with his attention. After a while, he closed his laptop, placing it on the table, and leaned on the sofa's armrest. "You know, you're doing this too well. It seems like you really put your heart into your work," he said, and his voice carried a subtle, flirtatious undertone. "Thank you," I replied, trying to stay neutral, but I felt my cheeks starting to burn. He stood and stepped closer, tilting his head slightly. "Has anyone ever told you how mesmerizing you are?" Those words swept the ground from under me. I tried to look away but couldn't. His gaze held me like a magnet. He was close enough that I could catch the faint scent of his cologne. "You're too kind," I said, trying to maintain professionalism. "No, I'm just being honest," he said, his voice softening as if this admission was meant for me alone. He slowly reached out, his finger tracing the edge of my sleeve. The touch was so light that I barely felt it, but inside, everything turned upside down. I took a step back, trying to reestablish boundaries, but he followed, leaving minimal space between us. "Sometimes life throws us interesting moments. Surely you don't mind if we take advantage of one?" I stayed silent, not knowing how to respond. His gaze seemed to study every emotion that crossed my face. He was so close now that I felt my breath grow heavy. "You're beautiful," he said, and at that moment, I could no longer fight the tension within me. Everything around us seemed to disappear. What happened next? That remains our secret. If you want to know what happened afterward, join me on Patreon. Through the link in the description. There, I share the most intimate moments of this and other stories that can't be told here.